Good day, good day. Welcome back to the channel. Look, today we got an interesting one, right? We're diving into a current major labor event that's shaking up the U.S. economy. It's basically everybody you see it report as the 2024 dock worker strikes from Maine to Texas. That's what everything says, from Maine to Texas, right? So basically, thousands of longshoremen have walked off the job demanding better wages, and basically they want put in place things that threaten their livelihood. They want reassurances for the next 6 years that automations won't come to their job, and boom, they get a 30-day notice while they paying their kids, putting their kids through college. This is the first strikes that happened since 1977. It's happening, and the economy already messed up. People complaining about inflation. You got the presidential campaigns coming up. It's a lot going on. I want to know. You want to know, right? Everyday people that's working 9 to 5, living paycheck to paycheck is like, come on, something else gonna happen. First, COVID happened, and people rush to the stores. Now, people might do the same thing, even though they don't have to. And things are gonna get better. So we'll see. I don't know much about it, so I'm gonna learn about it. Watch a couple videos that I collected throughout the day, and I'm gonna watch it with you guys. Let me know what you think. Let's go.
Sal Mercogliano is joining us. Sal, thanks for hopping on at this late hour. This is something that you were speaking with us about earlier on in the evening, and now it's official. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of knew the ILA was going to go out on strike. We saw some last minute negotiations happening between them. The U.S. Maritime Alliance, which represents the shipping companies, the terminals, and some of the other port agents, were able to put a proposal together that looked really good. I mean, they came up from their initial offer up to 50% pay wages, increases over 6 years, talked about tripling the amount of money provided for retirement, and also more health care. However, the ILA has been adamant that they really wanted this strike. They want to raise issues regarding the absolute amount of money that the shipping companies have made. The 7 shipping companies that are on the United States Maritime Alliance board are all foreign owned, including one from the Chinese government, a Chinese overseas shipping company. And ILA wants to raise this issue, and they're doing it now. They want to get in the news cycle.
Why is this impacting ports on the East Coast? Or are those the only ones that are affiliated with the ILA?
Yeah, it's East and Gulf Coast. So we got ports all the way from Boston down to Houston that are going to be impacted. On the West Coast, you have the ILWU, which we had that strike, and not a strike, but a labor negotiation with the Pacific Maritime Association. And here on the East and Gulf Coast, the ILA represents these workers. And we saw that not only is the ILA out on strike, but they got a sympathetic letter from the Teamsters Union coming out. And so what we're going to see right now is ships that are in the ports are.
That's what matter right there. This is costing them each day these longshoremen are on strike. It's costing them anywhere between 3.8 and 4.5 billion dollars per day. Some people gonna estimate higher than that, lower than that, and all that's supposed to trickle down to the customer. So this is about the longshoremen may want to keep this going on until they get a response from the president, because Biden can stop this, right? Or they can get a pledge from, maybe to say, hey, you know what? I'm putting tariffs on everybody anyway. We're going to disband that. That's crazy to think that there's a whole board of 7 major companies and they're all from foreign entities. That's crazy.
Stuck there. They won't be able to leave. This is going to impact mainly container ships and car carriers. Oil tankers, cruise lines should not be impacted by this.
Is there any indicators out there to suggest how long this may take? How much room is there between the two sides right now?
Well, the negotiations at the last minute were very helpful. The big issue had been that both sides weren't at the table. They were basically negotiating through press conferences and press releases. I think hopefully what we'll see is maybe toward the end of the week that both sides will come together. One of the big hindrances here is the Biden administration's hands-off approach. They have announced that they're not going to intercede. They really will not take a hands-on approach. The president himself came out and said there is no chance of him invoking Taft-Hartley, which would require workers to go back to work. And so this coming at a very, crucial time right now. We're looking at coming into the holiday season. There's last minute shipments that are coming in. This represents almost half the containers that come into the United States. And this has not just implications in the United States trade, but global trade.
So it's Taft-Hartley, which allows the president to basically say, "Hey, we need you." It's a, I guess, a federal emergency, almost like some FEMA stuff. You need to go back to work. That sounds like something he only do in a time of war. I don't see it happening. This is a democratic country. I don't think Biden would see that. Last time they, like, can you imagine the U.S. making you do something during COVID and get shots and everything else, and then they making people go back to work? That almost lose the Democratic Party as the election for itself. I don't see him doing that. No way, shape, or form.
We're looking at these live images from Elizabeth, New Jersey tonight. We understand that there's similar images coming in from major cities across the East and Gulf coasts. Sal, let's talk about the situations and scenarios we could see play out over the coming days and weeks. Let's say this thing lasts 24 hours. What could that do to the supply chain versus what it could do if we're talking about a weeks-long strike?
Well, I think one of the things the viewers need to take away is there's not going to be shortages on the shelves. I mean, that's something that need to, be alleviated from. We're not going to see immediate shortfalls. What we're talking about is if this is a day, a short time period, it's going to take about a week to reset the supply chain to get caught back up. What you're going to see is delays happen in the delivery of goods. But for most people, they will not see anything appreciable happen in their goods. Where it starts to impact, if it starts going on a little bit longer than a day or two, or goes into a week or two, then manufacturing, a lot of businesses, one of the biggest importers, Walmart, the box stores, will start coming up short in some of their goods. Fortunately, most food is made within the United States. Most fuel is refined in the United States. So those type of things we don't really need to.
Is it? Can somebody confirm that most food is made in the United States and most of our fuel is refined in the United States? I can see that. It's imported and refined.
Worry about or set off a panic. I think it's really important at this point that everyone takes a breath back and understand that a lot of the goods that you are already in the United States right now, sitting either in warehouses or in the stores.
It was and it looks like the battery level is low on that feed. That sometimes does happen with these live images. So what I'll ask you, though, is it's been, 3-4 years since the supply chain was top of mind in the news cycle. We talked so much about it during COVID. Could the potential impacts of this type of strike feel similar to what we felt 3-4 years ago?
I think one of the things we've seen continually is strains on the supply chain system. I mean, we've seen hits, whether it was the COVID supply chain system, it was Ever Given in the Suez, it was the Houthi now diverting vessels around the Red Sea. I think one of the things we've really learned is really how vulnerable our supply chain system is, how tenacious and tenuous it is at times.
And we already need truckers, right? We're already losing truckers. It's not that generation of truckers and people. They getting tired of doing it for less than $1 a mile, or brokers treating them already. So this ain't good.
And what this is doing is really alerting us once again. Fortunately, again, the West Coast is open for business. We're going to get trade coming in, but the West Coast cannot take all the slack. We've got about a 50-50 division between the East and Gulf Coast ports and the West Coast. Fortunately, the Panama Canal is back up at full water level, so we can move traffic through there. Earlier this year, we had it at low levels. That was really hindering a lot of movement. But I think what the ILA wants to do is really grab the headlines here and really demonstrate their solidarity. One of the big fears is that they will be split apart and really become, just entities within local ports that can be dealt with on a local level, especially when you're dealing with these large shipping companies.
So they want to say, look, and we can do this instead of just little here and here popping up. They can do this. This is like their chance. Because if they don't, then they probably don't have enough money saved and put aside to do this again. So they're like, this now or never. I haven't seen any report that said this is, at worst, they say this probably lasts 2 weeks, and that would devastate the United States. But any more than that, like a month, and oh my God, it's like, I don't think the United States is ready for that, and the Democrats will probably lose the election.
The big 7 companies that are in the U.S. Maritime Alliance, there are 10 companies, shipping companies in the world. They control over 85% of the world's container shipping. And so the ILA really wants to show that this is their moment. I think it's coming at a very opportune time with an election looming on the horizon.
Did we learn anything from the pandemic that could help us weather this strike?
I think a lot of actually shippers have learned. They diversified where their cargo comes from. A lot of shippers were well aware this was coming. This is not a surprise. This has been a 6-year contract. Everyone saw this looming on the horizon. I think what we saw coming up here is a lot of shippers front loaded their cargo. So we had a lot of cargo coming in September. So the ports were really full. Hopefully, people were able to get the cargo out of those ports. And then others have shifted their cargo over to the West Coast. So we've diversified a bit in our ability to deliver goods. Crucial supplies, things like medicines and things that will have to be done can always be moved by air, but air traffic is a real right now because of issues caused by the Houthi and the elongation of shipping routes.
Where does this story go from here? What are you going to be watching for tomorrow? Could this thing come to an end quickly?
It can. That last little bit of offers by the U.S. Maritime Alliance was a pretty good deal. They were talking about going up to 50% in pay. I think what we'll see is hopefully you'll probably see a day or two of this news cycle with the strikes. They want to get on the news. They really want to highlight what's going on. But I would envision hopefully maybe by the end of the week, maybe Friday, we start seeing the sides coming down to the table negotiating, and they could hammer out a deal here. They're pretty close. One of the key provisions that the Maritime Alliance included in that most recent statement.
He's just giving us his opinion.
We start the top of the hour this morning with a Fox 5 News alert. Thousands of doctors.
Look at all that, man. And they be doing illegal stuff in here, too. They probably going to find weapons and drugs and stuff that they never did before sitting there because people paying attention for the next couple of days or weeks.
Workers are on strike, causing ports across the U.S. to close.
Yeah, in total, 36 ports shutting down, including the Port of Baltimore. Melanie Allenwick is there right now live, and she appears to be telling us since this morning that it's been heating up there, and it hasn't been a pleasant sight for many folks, especially the drivers coming in.
That's right. So for some people, I think it might have been a bit of a surprise. However, this has been in the news that it could be happening for a few weeks now. So you can see the picket lines behind me here. And this is the main entrance to the Port of Baltimore, the Dundalk Terminal. And you'll see they're walking around the picket lines in circles. Now, Baltimore police were here earlier reminding the picketers that they cannot block the entrance to the port. The longshoremen walked off the job at 12:01 a.m. There was confusion and anger as picketers initially tried to stop trucks from entering, and it did turn violent.
I come here for 7 years. I pull the trash and the debris out of here for the Port of Baltimore, and the officer told me to come back and go in there to get out of my way, and they attacked me and broke the windshield and serrated my face.
Oh my God, that's crazy. This man is he's so empathy. You just have this empathy for him. Look, and he got the blood on his face, and they slashed my face. Told me to get out of here. He ain't bothering nobody.
Look at it.
Now, we don't know exactly what happened. The union members said the truck hit one of the picketers as they swarmed around it. We did see an ambulance come to assist, and we know that that gentleman did speak with police officers. Again, we'll let the authorities sort out exactly what happened there. Now, 45 members of the International Longshoremen's Association, 45,000 members. That's a big difference in number, isn't it? They have all been asking for a 77% pay increase over 6 years and a ban on automation at their ports, a threat to...
Yo, this is crazy. Look at this ship with all this food and luxury items. Some carry cars. Oh, that's crazy. And it's coming out of Newark and places like that. They got illegal cars ready to move. They can't move. Everybody going to be, the criminals and the legal people, going to be upset because it's strike.
To their jobs, they say. Now, most retailers stocked up on goods prior to the strike, but if it lasts more than a few weeks, supply chain experts say it's who are going to feel the direct impact of higher prices and product shortages, especially for things like fresh fruit, coffee, and cars. The U.S. Marine Alliance, which represents the ports, said it offered 50% pay increases and an agreement to keep current limits on automation, in addition to increased contributions to the retirement plans. But apparently that was not acceptable approval to the union members. We don't know what the next steps are in terms of the negotiations. Now, we do want to let you know that West Coast ports do remain open. They are a different union and working under a different contract, and many supply chain leaders have rerouted some of their goods and supplies. But on the East Coast, it's going to have to be a wait-and-see situation as to how directly everyone.
Chris, clearly, whatever is perishable is going to be felt first.
Sure.
And that's what we keep hearing. Weak, but as the long.
High, remember, certainly not perishables as much, but when you look at automobiles, 45% higher inventories than a year ago. Heavy equipment, 60% higher inventories than a year ago. Most of the Christmas merchandise.
People don't think about all the automobiles and parts that we got coming from other countries that affect us. People are going to be waiting for microchips from China for the F-150.
About 82% of it's already here. So maybe not some of the leverage that they thought they had. It's important. Certainly these people deserve to be paid. But at the end of the day, when you're saying we want to kill technology to secure our jobs in the future, that's fundamentally un-American. So I think that narrative is going to hurt them more than help them. I think they're going to resolve this next couple of weeks and we'll get.
No, they saying we want money now. We want it over the next 6 years because we know technology goes leaps and bounds every 3 years. So we want what we want for our money. Right now, that's they're higher. It's like a basketball player, right? Like if they go in and they're young, they can require more money because they know, yo, I'm 19 to 25, I make my most money. When I hit 30, I might still be good, but I'm going to probably be a bench player or maybe they're trying to be LeBron. But if they're 32 in the league, they're probably coming off the bench and they can't go in there and demand, I want a $100 million contract. So they do it when they're younger. So they can't do it when they got all the technology. They see it coming. So they like, yo, we want our money now. We want 75% increase, not 50, not 55, and we want it now. Otherwise, it's not un-American. They can require a certain pay for their services. If they can get it cheaper, tell them go somewhere else and get it there. That's American. Hey, this is how you want me to do this job? This is how much I want for it. No, then go get somebody else to do it. Get the machines now. They want us to wait until the machines come in and then ask for the money? No, it's going to be too late.
Get our bananas sooner or later, that's for sure.
Well, Cheryl, you had a great interview yesterday with Chris Spear, the American Trucking Association's president and CEO. And I know that there have been, contingency plans made to use the West Coast ports. But that interview that you did yesterday with Chris Spear, he was really worried.
Well, because of the truckers, look at the. This isn't just about the dock workers. This is about truckers. This is about other union workers that throughout the supply chain, Maria. And going back to the food, we learned yesterday on the program that like a container full of bananas, that's going to spoil in 1 week. One Florida importer, he brings in asparagus on ships to sell to grocery stores in Florida. He said, "Look, I'm going to have to fly it in now." That shipment's going to be flown in, and that's going to be 50 cents a pound of a markup. This is inflation. This is going to hit your grocery store.
And he could put 55 cents. He could put $1 markup, and then it's going to be a company that's not, or it's going to be the local farmers at the farmer market that got their product right here, and not the big, gigantic companies. People are going to be looking up their farmers market.
It isn't going to be this week, but Maria, by 2 weeks, you're going to see it. Make no mistake. And as far as Gina Raimondo and the administration, where is Pete Buttigieg? Where is our Secretary of Transportation? Now, we just got Edward Lawrence actually just sent out a long readout from the White House about what the Harris-Biden administration are going to be doing about the Biden-Harris administration. But all it is a lot of talk. And as far as I'm seeing, the Teamsters don't want Biden to get involved because he could invoke the Taft-Harris law, the Taft-Hartley law. He brings that in, 80-day cooling off period. We're 5 weeks out from the election, Maria. 5 weeks. Timing,
that's a good
not
point.
good.
Yeah. That's probably why he doesn't want to intervene. He was asked, are you going to get involved? He said, no, I'm not going to get involved, Joe. But look, this is happening just at the time that we're supposed to be reining in inflation. It's going to spike right back up again.
Well, sure. And don't forget, Joe Biden has an image problem where most Americans don't think he's in charge. By not taking charge during crises like this, you're only playing right into that. I think I speak for a lot of Americans where I want to know what exactly is on the Commerce Secretary's desk that is taking precedent over pressure is also being faced by a lot of these dock workers. We can't forget that these folks are also being burdened by the Biden-Harris inflation.
Maria, I have to make one more point here. North Carolina, they need food, Maria. North Carolina needs food.
Let's go out to Newark, New Jersey right now.
A strike, one of the reasons for the strike is that no agreement on what a kind of future will be for the port. That, or I shouldn't say that. You know, they have a very different strategy than the UAW, which, you know, was very communicative, put a lot of it out there. They haven't taken that path. They've been kind of close-mouthed. But the fact is that the shippers have made a lot of money over the course of the past few years, largely as a result of the pandemic. And a 77% increase sounds like a lot of money. Of course, these folks don't live in.
They were making jokes in the back.
In Middle America. They live in New York and New Jersey. And if you check the cost of living in places not food, nothing is coming through the ports along the eastern seaboard and the Gulf Coast.
So, you see what's going on. That guy on Fox, I think he's completely wrong when he tried to use that. It's not American. What do you mean it's not American? They're major corporations. You see them talk about the 7 major corporations, the organization of the 7 foreign organizations that control the food. It's 10 companies that control 75% of the food in America, and 7 of them are foreign, and they run this like self-policing organization or whatever it is. That's crazy. It's American to require, hey, we teach kids that, hey, go get a trade, right? Hey, especially that came from Fox News. They're supposed to be on the right? So if they on that, then they with the, hey, college, yeah, but go get a trade. Go learn how to weld. Go learn how to be a mechanic. Well, if you're a mechanic or a welder or whatever it is, you can set your own rate. You know how to do certain stuff. You got certain certifications. You can say, listen, you want me to do this job? Okay, I'll be a contractor. 1099. This is how much I want. This is how it is. This is the deliverables. This is what's going, the milestones, and boom, this is the end result. Let's do it. That's American. He's supposed to say, hey, no, don't do this because the rest of America. That's like if all the hospitals start paying less, all the surgeons less. They start paying them $40 an hour after going to school for 12 years. And then they say, oh, you know what? We're going on strike. And we say, yeah, but they got to think about the people out there that need surgery, that's dying. Well, the hospitals are playing games. These people want to know, hey, I want reassurance. Like football players want reassurance. I keep using the football player analogy. Football players want guaranteed money. Okay, you're talking about $200 million. How much guaranteed? If I go out there second, if I don't last 4 years, $200 million. If I don't last that long, if I go out there day one, get hit, boom, I can't play no more. How much money I get? How much money my family get? They want to know 6 years. Okay, cool. You could automate this and that. We won't have this leverage because you'll have somebody else doing our job. So we want to guarantee people. We need people. We need to recruit people to come in here and do a job. Can we guarantee this for the next 6 years? They want more than that. That's American. Let me know what you think. I just think that they should be able to do that. And Biden should not. It would be anti-American. It would be a riot if Biden made these people go back to work. It would be a shame. And that's what Fox say he should do. Maybe they're just saying that so he could do it and call him out for it as soon as he do it. Because I can't see them letting that pass. Can you see that? Can you see